Всем привет! Давайте.
Hi everyone, let's start. At the very beginning, I want to tell you that our talk takes not 20 but 40 minutes. We decided to change the duration of the talk. That's why we will take the time of the coffee break. I want to start. Let me introduce myself. They asked me to stand here. Okay. I want to introduce myself. My name is Savastyuk Natalya. I work in BP Mobile. I'm the head of testing department in Minsk. Also, I am the trainer of testing courses and a member of Minsk Testing Society. All in all, I like active lifestyle and I cannot be calm and sit in one place. And because of all that activities, I many times heard, how do you manage to find time for everything? And that's why the name of my talk is like that. In my life, everything started like that. When I was a student, I started to work as an automatizer. I received tasks, I performed tasks, I made reports, I met with friends, watched movies, then you become a lead, you have more tasks and a wider range of responsibilities. Then you start to think about your personal life. Then you have a husband, like in my case, apartment, a cat, car, and some other things. And you give some promises at work, you give some promises, you have a lot of tasks, you don't have enough space in your head anymore. There was a moment when I understood that in the evening I started to list all the things I managed to do and didn't manage to do. And if I didn't manage to do something, I decided to postpone those things for the next day. I reproached myself, and it was not good for my health because you cannot fall asleep because you want to list all the things you need to do tomorrow. It was not okay. It was evident I had to change something. I had to look for solutions, and that was the time how my time management path started. There were some things I found consciously, and some things came to me randomly, and there are some discoveries I wanted to share with you. The first thing that dawned on me was the so-called thought fuel. And Maxim Dorofeev says these are resources you need to stay reasonable and to keep common sense. We spend these thoughts as fuel to take decisions. You imagine that you have a task, you need to fulfill it, you need to recall that you have this task, and then you understand what to do next, to whom to go, what to ask, or what particularly actions to take with your legs and arms. Then you do so. In many tasks, you have to analyze your result, draw conclusions for the future, and this is how any task is implemented. Anyway, you use your thoughts and fuel. The only thing you can do is try to save it. The easiest way to save it is at the very beginning, when you recall the task and when you decide what particularly has to be done. As a matter of fact, the first step is recommended. Everyone is starting to write down things in the to-do list and not keeping them in your mind. You have to write down things really precisely and accurately, as Maxim Dorofeev says. Even a monkey should understand what needs to be done. Here is a classical example with a present. Buy a present to Peter, for example. Peter is, for example, a colleague of ours, and you don't know him personally. This task will be postponed as long as possible because we don't know what kind of present to give to him. It would be correct to write down this task to generate an idea on what to present and then to buy it. As for the generation of a present idea, will take place sooner than the purchase of the gift itself. Next. I just understood that you need to clean your head from all the thoughts and from these to-do lists, and I started to search for beautiful notebooks. Many people recommend to have such writing pads, and I'm a fan of beautiful pads. I tried various types of pads, from simple to planners, weekly planners, daily planners, special time management, notepads, and so on. But no matter how I love notepads, at the end of the day, you hate them because you see a to-do list. You have to cross out some things, and when you do it, you have not a list but a real chaos. You lose a task and you cannot find it. If you use a weekly planner, for example, you create tasks for today and tomorrow, you have to rewrite the things you haven't done today. Anyway, you start to get bored with that. And the most important thing that you lose your tasks anyway. After living for a period of time with writing pads, I understood that it shouldn't be a pad, but it should be a specialized task management system. There are a lot of systems like that: Trello, To-Do List, Anydo, Wunderlist, and many more. I think there are other systems that you know. Anyway, there is no best scenario I could recommend to you. The best scenario is the best system personally for you. For 3 or 4 years, I used Trello. If you don't know what it is a system that looks like a scrum board with columns. And I had columns like backlog tasks, this week tasks, tasks for tomorrow, for today, and perform tasks. And these tasks simply shifted from one column to another. Later on, Trello's functionality was not enough for me. I moved to To-Do List. I know that some people don't like To-Do List as a system, and it's absolutely fine. Your task management system has to be found personally. You need to open it and understand that it's good for you. It's some kind of a personal question. You should just feel that it's yours. And if it's so, it will be pleasant for you to open it, and you will want to write down your tasks inside of that system. Okay, so I came to the understanding that I had a to-do list. I didn't lose my tasks. It was easy to find them. I lived for a period of time like that, but I wasn't happy. I had a feeling that something was wrong. Something was lacking in my life. I have a psychological degree, and during one of the lessons, I had a task called Life Balance Wheel. It's very simple. You can perform this task during the break. You have 8 axes, and there are areas where they overlap. Then you have a scale from 0 to 10, and you need to name the axes according to your life values: family, friends, free time, money, health, hobby, career, and so on. Second step, you need to write down the current state in each scale. And then you need to bring these points together. Central part, the central part you have should look like a wheel. It's a wheel as a symbol of balance, a symbol of your life. And if everything is well balanced, then you have a wheel and your life goes smoothly. If you have various figures with angles, it means that your life doesn't roll smoothly, but it has some obstacles, and it means that there are some areas of life that you do not focus on sufficiently. That was my question about happiness. When I drew it for the first time, I had problems with friends, hobby, because I almost didn't meet with them at all. I spent much time at work. I forgot what hobby was about. And when you see the picture, you understand that this is the way to find life balance. That was the evening when I went to a shop and bought spokes, knitting needles, and I created a scarf for my mom. It was a very rewarding activity for me. It gave me lots of energy. Sometimes people tell me it's not possible to focus on all areas of life every day because you don't have enough time. There are people in the hall who know me or who heard my previous talks. There is a perfect rule, a rule of 20 minutes, and it says that if you spend 20 minutes doing something, like going for sports for 20 minutes, you will be healthy. If you read a book for 20 minutes a day, you will be an expert in a particular sphere. Same here. Just spend 20 minutes for things that are important for you in your life, and you will be a well-balanced person in your life conditions. If you cannot do so every day, you should do it at least every next day. But you need to cover all the important areas of your life, and this will give you motivation for the future. All right. Now we know that in addition to work, there are other areas of life that you need to focus on, and you do so. However, you appear in a situation when you have a lot of tasks. They accumulate, and you see that you forget about something. The system is automatized, but you have like a package of tasks. You don't know in what order to take them, and it makes you nervous. That was the period of my reading. I read several books and I wasn't really impressed with all of them, but I took some useful information from all the books and here are them. Classical book about time management is a book by David Allen about bringing things to order. And here he described the famous algorithm, getting things done. This is the name. Actually, you need to filter the incoming tasks from the very beginning. If it's a real task, you need to write it down into the list. If it's an idea, which is not a task, it's something that you need to think about in the future, then it should be in the list of ideas. Other things are not ideas, just noise, just waste. It goes out of your head immediately. Or this is the information you need to store, but it shouldn't be stored in the to-do list. The coolest thing about it, for me personally, was a 2-minute rule. A 2-minute rule says that if a task takes less than 2 minutes, don't write it down anywhere. Just take it and do it right now, without even thinking about it. Actually, there are a lot of 2-minute tasks. People postpone them, and later on, they create a backlog of accumulated tasks. You need to assess your own abilities. Sometimes when we have a task, we think that it takes only 2 minutes, but in reality, it takes 2 hours. So please use common sense.
Then I came across the classical Russian romantic guy, Gleb Arkhangelsky, and his book called Time Jar. Why is he romantic? He says that it's important to select the goal of the day or month and year and gradually move towards it. Also, he believes that at the end of this period, you need to describe the event of the day, and eventually you will arrive at the understanding of what is happening with you. I think it's too much for me, so I'm not using it. But there is such a funny approach of his that is called a frog for breakfast. A frog is the task, unpleasant task that you keep putting off, postponing. This could be a call or some visit to the mail po- post box, mail, or something else, so something unpleasant. And Mr. Arkhangelsky believes that if before tackling your major list of tasks, you do this frog task, eventually all the frogs will disappear and your life will be full by the most interesting task you can only dream of. If I judge by myself, I can say that if you follow this rule, I judge by my own self. If you eat this frog in the morning, it gives you an emotional boost for the upcoming task because you become proud of yourself. After you've finished your unpleasant task, all the rest will be main task will be only part. He also has elephants. David Allen and Dorofeev, Alan Dorofeev call similar tasks projects. Projects, as you can understand, is a great direction that you need to decompose into subtasks. It's something you cannot tackle in one sitting. You can do it step by step. And one of the conclusions here could be that you need to differentiate tasks from projects and divide the latter into smaller pieces. Then we have a big list of tasks. Among them, of course, there are important and not so important ones. And you need to prioritize them, of course. The most Eisenhower's matrix is the most appealing to me here. It has the two axes of the things that are important and those that demand immediate assistance. And you need to understand where you are. If you think that most of your tasks in the first square, it means that you're heading towards the emotional burnout. The task of the third and the fourth priority level are not particularly important and very immediate. It means that you can delegate them and they can be a point of growth for your colleagues and for members of your team. The manager itself or the head, ideally, but any person ideally, needs to be operating in this second square. It is the quadrant of tomorrow. It is where we're heading, where we're going. And if the head is constantly working in the priority tasks, it means he's heading towards degradation, or at least non-development of his team, his surrounding processes, and himself. The person or the manager who thinks about the future needs to operate in the second quadrant. So it's basically clear there are tasks and there are priorities, and you prioritize tasks. But in life, everything happens differently. Theoretically, you need to set the first priority and do the most important things. What to do then with the third and the fourth priority? They accumulate, which is not normal. You need to work on the third and the fourth one when you don't have the first and second one covered is also not very well. You need to organize it into a working system. And thinking about it, I came across the time management course at the the website. It's very concise. It was free of charge at the time. And in many ways, it covers what I said previously about the test to be put down, to be put down and be concrete, and they fit into the Eisenhower quadrants. But it actually recommends how to put into a system. And here's how it's done. What I'm going to tell you now is what is is the information provided in this course. It's not my thoughts. It's something I given I give to you. At the first, you need to formulate a list of tasks. Put together a list of tasks, and when you do it, you need to understand when this task needs to be completed, and it's in your life, particularly in your personal life, you need to estimate the results of your achievements. Otherwise, you would not be successful. At the second planning stage, for every you need to prioritize every task. I'm not doing it visually, but in any case, I separate the important from non-important tasks in my head, and I delegate them if possible. Delegating task is one of the parts of this algorithm in your to-do list. You need to mark the so-called management task. For example, you need one of your staff members to collect the metrics. The staff member had never done this before. It means one of your management tasks will be to explain what it is, how to collect them, and during the process you need to control whether it's done properly. Eventually, at the end, you need to analyze what has been done, make conclusions, and set further tasks to improve the process, if need be. Then, at the third planning stage, you need to draft a schedule. And one of the major discoveries here that the to-do list is not enough. It needs to fit into your time schedule, daily time schedule. Here, first you needed to tackle the so-called hard things I did, and it's marked with a blue color. For example, 4 p.m. I have an interview. It's some kind of meetings and calls. You need to perform that. Then, for all the planned events that you have, if necessary, you need to add the task and time to prepare for it, like preparing for your interview, for example. And you need to set up apart the time to analyze the results. Then the calendar has the priority tasks. Important, but not pertinent, and pertinent but not important. About 30 or 40% of the time, like many people forget about it, is recommended to keep for the green zone, or just to have just in case if the meetings overrun its time. You need to rely on this green zone. So the green zone may compensate for particular problems with the time management. If your day is happening ideally, the green zone is a free time. It's in a green zone that you need to dedicate yourself to dedicate your time to the third and fourth squadrons. You can see them on the list. In the to-do list, it may look like this. You can see on the second screenshot the tasks that are directly linked to time frame, and the task number 3 and 4 are not connected with any time frame. I have just told you that when drafting your schedule, you need to understand how much time you each performing your task will take. You need to estimate it wisely and honestly. But estimating is not enough. There are tasks that will only take 5 minutes, but that will use all of your energy for the day. So you need to estimate your energy that you will spend on this. It's particularly important for the people spending with communication with other people. Also, the working with a checklist for an hour can put you down for the remaining time. So you need to control for yourself for your surrounding, for the people surrounding you. So you shouldn't fill your day with energy-intensive tasks only. It means that you will stop on the second, third task at most. What is the last discovery? People have asked me before how I manage everything, and I told them how I do this. Many people try to follow my step, to walk in my shoes. Somebody succeeded, and someone didn't. I may say that I sometimes was slacking, and I saw my time management system collapse. What I did, I made an empirical conclusion that time management is very important and difficult discipline. It requires a lot of discipline. It means that every morning or in the evening, rather evening, you open your planner and schedule your task for the next day. During the daytime, if you get a task, you filter it. This project is, as I already said, you do your 2-minute task at once. You need to be able to say no to the people, particularly to those who are above you in the professional ladder and who believe that you need to perform a very urgent task. You need to be able to say no if you don't want to do this. You need to be able to stick to your plan. Another important point is that during the day, you need to look at your list of tasks and tick or cross out those that you have already finished. Many stumble at the step where you need to draft your schedule because they'll never go back to this plan during the day. And everything happening during the day becomes much more important, interesting for them. So we're back to square one, understanding that our planning doesn't work and our mood is very dark. It's recommended to clean your backlog, to analyze at least once in a month or once in several weeks. You need to reformulate your tasks. Let's check out something that is no longer important. You need to do it regularly or the system breaks down. Some of you may say that the system makes life boring and dull, and living according to the plan is very bad. It's not for us. I'm not going to argue with my whole day, and I'm not feeling bad about it. I put in my planner the working tasks, some planned events like concerts and visits, something I plan to and promise to do to other people. All my free time is not mentioned there, so I don't write down things like I need to knit something in the evening. I'm free in this way. I'm selecting my own task. As a summary, I must say that the time management requires a lot of your strength and willpower, requires a lot of. It's very time consuming, and if you really suffering from the way your time is managed, you need to understand that you need to break yourself and need to give up on your bad habits. And if you tried this already and and you failed, yeah, and you're demotivated by all this time schedule stuff, if you're negative, very negative about this, and you would not really want to do it, don't force yourself. Just acknowledge the fact that this is part of you and agree that I may forget some things. This is me, and I will remain like this. And just be happy with your life as it is. But again, I repeat myself, if you feeling bad, you need to force yourself. Okay, feel great and enjoy your life. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Natalia, thank you for your presentation. I have a question. You showed us life wheel, and there was some axes with figures. What kind of figures were there? It's the system of metrics. But how can I determine that family is 7 and that money is 3? Yeah, I forgot to tell you about it. Only you can determine that. Everyone determines he or herself what is 10 and what is 1. If there's a person who comes to work, doesn't talk with anyone, comes back to home, and he sits at the computer, plays games, and for him, this situation is fine. He will assess it as 10 in the situation with friends. Another person suffers that he doesn't communicate with friends. He wants to talk to people at work, discuss all the news. He wants to meet with friends after work. And for him, 10 means when he is surrounded by people and talks to them. So you all decide for yourself what is 1 and what is 10, and all the intermediary levels is what you need to decide. It's just a figure that means where this sphere of life is. Only you know the answer. Thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to clarify one thing. I'm reading the same books and I use the same methods for time management in my life. Point 2 is list of tasks. And the last thing you showed us was also list of tasks with estimates and priorities. The main question: Do you have you become have you become happier after the introduction of the last point? You feel happy when everything is good in life, not only at work, but also in other spheres of life, things that are interesting for you according to your value system. Now I have order, and the tasks are not lost. So I started to implement such tasks. I think the main idea in the last part, you asked me about the timetable. I asked you about the happiness, but you asked me if I became happier after the introduction of the last idea. You mean this one or this one? The discipline? Oh, yeah, that's a good question. It's not about happiness and being unhappy. It's just a fact. If you want your tasks to be done, if you want to act according to a plan, if you want to not forget about the tasks, if you need discipline, you need to understand that this is what is required for time management. I have a philosophical approach. I just need it and everything is fine. I hope I have answered your question. Hi, thank you for presentation. I liked it. Really. My question is, if you have some urgent tasks in your to-do list and someone comes and tells you you need to do something else, or some events happen that such urgent and important tasks become postponed. So what can you do with that? Let me show you Eisenhower's priorities. If everything is urgent, means that not everything is correct, and some of the managers is working not in the right field. There are not so many urgent things. Many managers say that they are urgent. However, they are not. You just need to talk to such people. Just ask them question, why are these things important? What happens if I don't do it? And then you find out that nothing serious will happen. You can wait for a week. Same happens in our company with releases. We have small projects, and often they come to us and say, let's do urgently a small fix and upload it to App Store. And then you understand that it's not important to do it quickly because you need to make other transitions, for example, and other things. It's just a fantasy of a human being. Just talk to this person and ask him whether it's really so important. In some cases, the new tasks are really more important than what you're doing right now. But my direct answer to your question is that you need to accurately talk to this person who says that it's so important. Hi, Natalia. Thank you for your presentation. It was interesting to listen to you. I have a question. How do you deal with routine tasks? So you have opened the Eisenhower's model, and you also had a slide with energy circulation. There are tasks that are important and urgent. They take lots of your energy. From your own experience, what can you tell us? Do you plan them at the very beginning? Do you set them at the beginning of the day, for example? Or do you differentiate them according to different time periods? It can happen differently. If you ask me about routine tasks, you're asking about frogs, and you need to eat a frog in the morning. So I try to eat such a task in the morning. You do it, and then you live the whole day the way you want it. Okay. I have a question. When you have an urgent task, do you put it inside of the table immediately and you change your log, or you first do your urgent task and then at the end of the day you assess what to do tomorrow? Do you go to backlog immediately, or do you insert the task immediately into your timetable? If the I will answer your question, and if I don't answer it completely, let me know. If I have an urgent task, I determine if I have to do it today, tomorrow, or in a month. I put it in to-do list and I write down the time of implementation as well. As far as discipline is concerned, in the morning, I plan my timetable for today. In the morning, I check my to-do list. Look, it goes like that. Today, I receive a task for the day after tomorrow, for example. So the day after tomorrow, I open my to-do list. I already have the list of incoming tasks. I leave some of them for that day, and I write down the time of implementation. Some of them can be postponed because they are not so important. That's it. So in the morning, I plan my tasks for today, and then when during the day I receive such tasks, I postpone them for another day or Monday. I also have a Monday planning. I never called it like that, but actually it's all about Monday planning. If I don't know when the task shall be done, I decide it on Monday. So on Monday I can write down what I do during the next week. You can come up to me later and I'll tell you about it in more details. All right, thank you for your presentation. I have another question about proposal. I use Trido, and I have a column for tasks that I performed if they are great. Sometimes I go back to that column and I check the previous quarter. I check if I did something really cool. It motivates me. It motivates me to remain well disciplined and to still keep a list of things. Frankly speaking, I don't do it, but I'm really impressed with you. Please. You should know that I'm really impressed with your with what you do. Some people need motivation for the system to work. You have found your own motivation. Some other people need to do something simple after a difficult task, or they need to eat a cookie or do something pleasant after performing a difficult task. You need to choose it the way you want it. I don't need it, so I don't use it. But in to-do list, there is karma, so to say. If you do things, you have more checks, and your karma is becoming bigger. I don't do it because it's not my kind of motivation. Thank you. Thank you all, guys. I will be happy to answer your questions.